The cab rumbled up the long driveway. Eliza stared out at Blackwood Manor, her childhood home. It seemed different, darker somehow. Maybe it was the storm brewing in the distance, or maybe it was because her mother was gone. Eliza's mother had died 6 months ago. A tragic accident, they said. Now her father had remarried. Eliza had been away at school trying to cope with her grief. A wave of nausea washed over her as the cab stopped. This wasn't home anymore. This was a house haunted by loss and a stranger. Eliza stepped out of the cab, her small suitcase bumping against her leg. The driver unloaded her trunk, a collection of her mother's belongings her father had sent over. She took a deep breath, the damp air heavy with the scent of rain and something else she couldn't place. Fear, perhaps? As the cab pulled away, the large oak doors swung open. A woman stood in the doorway, her silhouette framed by the light from within. Eliza's breath caught in her throat. This was Vivian, her new stepmother. Vivian was everything Eliza's mother wasn't. She was tall and elegant, with perfectly coiffed blonde hair and piercing blue eyes. Her smile was dazzling, but it didn't reach her eyes. Eliza felt a shiver run down her spine. Something about Vivian's perfection seemed off. "Eliza, darling, it's so wonderful to finally meet you." Vivian embraced her, her perfume a cloying cloud of lilies and something vaguely metallic. Eliza wanted to pull away, but Vivian held her tight. "Thank you," Eliza mumbled, her voice barely a whisper. Come in. You must be exhausted from your journey." Vivian led her into the house, her hand resting on Eliza's back, a touch that felt more like a brand. Eliza looked around. Everything was different. The furniture had been rearranged, the walls repainted in cool, impersonal colors. It was as if someone had erased all traces of her mother. Panic welled up inside her. This wasn't her home. It was a stranger's house. Eliza found her father in the drawing room, his face etched with a weariness Eliza had never seen before. He looked older, gaunter. He greeted her with a hug, but it lacked the warmth and reassurance she craved. "Eliza, my dear, it's good to have you home," he said, his voice raspy. "Dad, are you all right?" Eliza asked, concern filling her voice. He waved a hand dismissively. "Just a bit tired. It's been a long few months." He avoided her gaze. Eliza wanted to scream, to shake him and demand to know what was going on. Why was he so distant? Why did he seem to shrink away from her touch? But she bit her tongue, the questions lodging like stones in her throat. The days that followed were a blur of forced smiles and strained conversations. Vivian was always there, her presence suffocating Eliza. She hovered like a shadow, her eyes following Eliza's every move. Eliza felt like a prisoner in her own home. Strange things began to happen. Objects would go missing, then reappear in odd places. She'd hear whispers at night, just outside her bedroom door. Shadows seemed to dance at the edge of her vision. One night, Eliza woke to the sound of her father arguing with Vivian. She crept closer to the door, her heart pounding in her chest. "You promised me it would be over by now," her father hissed. Vivian's voice was a low murmur, laced with ice. "Patience, darling, it will all be ours soon enough." Eliza's blood ran cold. What were they talking about? What would be theirs? She needed to find out. Eliza began to search for answers. She started with her mother's belongings, hoping to find some clue, some explanation for her sudden death. In a small locked chest, she found a stash of letters, their edges browned with age. The letters were from a lawyer. They spoke of a life insurance policy, a considerable sum that would be transferred to Eliza's father upon her mother's death. Eliza's breath caught in her throat. Could this be the motive? Had Vivian married her father for money? Days later, Eliza overheard Vivian on the phone, her voice a venomous whisper. "The deed is done," Vivian hissed. "The old fool will be none the wiser." Eliza's hand trembled as she fumbled for her phone, quickly recording the conversation. This was it, the proof she needed. But as she reached for the door handle, she felt a hand clamp over her mouth, stifling her scream. Eliza woke up in the darkness, her head throbbing, her wrists and ankles bound. She was trapped. Vivian stood over her, a cruel smile playing on her lips. "You should have stayed out of it, darling," Vivian purred. "Now I'm afraid things are going to get messy." Eliza struggled against her restraints, fear coursing through her veins. "What are you going to do with me?" she choked out, her voice hoarse. Vivian just laughed, a chilling sound that echoed in the darkness. When Vivian stepped away, Eliza saw a glint of metal in her hand, a pair of gardening shears. Panic surged through Eliza. She was going to die here, just like her mother. Then everything went black. When Eliza's disappearance was discovered the next morning, panic ensued. The house was in an uproar. Servants rushed around frantically, their faces etched with worry. The police were called, and soon the manor was swarming with officers. Eliza's disappearance, coupled with the evidence she had cleverly left behind, the incriminating letters and the chilling phone recording, pointed directly at Vivian. The police, piecing together Eliza's findings and Vivian's suspicious behavior, arrested her for the murder of Eliza's mother and the presumed murder of Eliza. Justice, it seemed, had been served. But at what cost? Eliza was gone, vanished without a trace. The manor, once filled with warmth and laughter, was now shrouded in a heavy silence, a testament to the tragedy that had unfolded within its walls. The police searched for weeks, but Eliza was never found. The case went cold, leaving a bitter taste in the mouths of everyone involved. Vivian, maintaining her innocence, was found guilty on all charges and sentenced to life in prison. Years later, a solitary figure stood before Eliza's mother's grave, a bouquet of lilies, her favorite, clutched in her hand. The figure, shrouded in a dark cloak, was Eliza. She had escaped that night, narrowly avoiding Vivian's murderous rage. She had been living a life in the shadows, hidden from the world, haunted by the events of that fateful summer. But she had kept her promise. She had avenged her mother's death and brought Vivian to justice. As she knelt by the grave, a soft breeze rustled the leaves of the nearby oak tree, the same oak tree where she and her mother used to play. The air shimmered, and for a fleeting moment, Eliza could have sworn she saw her mother's face, a gentle smile gracing her lips. Eliza closed her eyes, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. "I miss you, Mama," she whispered, her voice thick with unshed tears. "But I kept my promise. She paid for what she did." The breeze seemed to sigh, a whisper of acknowledgement. The scent of lilies intensified, filling the air with a bittersweet fragrance. Eliza felt a sense of peace wash over her, a sense of closure she hadn't realized she'd been craving. As she turned to leave, she glanced back at the grave. A single lily, whiter than the others, lay upon the tombstone. Eliza smiled, a sad, wistful smile. Her mother was gone, but she would never be forgotten, and in the shadows of Blackwood Manor, her memory lived on.